Good afternoon. My name is Dirk, and I'll be moderating today's call. Thank you for joining our live telephone town hall. This is an interactive forum, and we would love to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions from participants as we possibly can live on this event. So if you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They'll take down your name and where you're calling from. Then the next time you hear your name, you'll be live on the call and able to ask your question directly. Now, if you're streaming this event on our website, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can today. And now, I'll turn it over to United Cooperative Services General Manager and CEO, Cameron Smallwood, to get everything started. Cameron?
Thanks, Dirk. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Cameron Smallwood. Thank you for joining us today. As a lot of you know, United engages its members in many ways, including through community meetings, its annual meeting each October, Texas Co-op Power Magazine, social media, and in regular daily interactions, just to name a few. And today we are leveraging this telephone town hall platform to engage our members. During our time today, I will provide an update on a number of topics, so thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you, Cameron. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this call, this is an interactive forum, and we definitely want to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions from participants on the phone and online as we possibly can live during this event. So to repeat, if you have a question, all you need to do is press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They'll go ahead and take down your name. The next time you hear your name, you'll be live on the call and able to ask your question directly. And remember, if you're streaming the event online, just simply type your name and question below the streaming player. And we promise to do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can. Now, if we're not able to address your question today, please leave us a voicemail after this event by simply remaining on the line. Or you can call our office at 817-556-4000. Again, 817-556-4000. Remember, if you've got a question you want to ask live on the call, press *3 on your telephone keypad, or simply type your name and question right below the streaming player. Let's get it back over to Cameron to kind of outline the phone call for us. Cameron?
Thanks, Dirk, and we're going to enable the slideshows for those of you that are connected on computer. We'll have some charts and graphs and a few things to cover with you. So, Jen, if you would enable that, that would be great. And those of you that are listening in by telephone only, I'll try to cover what's actually on the screen with you. That way you don't actually have to see what I'm talking about, that I can describe it to you. So I'll do my best to do that. And so I'd like to start just by reminding everybody, and I think most of our members know this, United is a not-for-profit electric distribution co-op, and we're your co-op. We're owned by the members that we serve. And what does that mean, the fact that we're nonprofit? So every year we do make what's called margin, which some people call profit, but any of that profit that we make actually goes back into the members' patronage capital accounts. And so we track all of that, and then we retire that from time to time and give that back to you over time. Any of the money that we make, so to speak, the margins, it does not go to investors. It does not go to your board of directors. It does not go to the staff of the co-op. It actually goes back to the members of the co-op. So I want to make that clear, because there's some folks that have, as our prices have gone up a little bit recently, have made statements that, I guess everybody's just getting rich at the co-op. Well, that's not how our co-op works. It actually, any profit we make actually goes back to the members that we serve. So be clear about that. Our mission, exceptional service and value, we talk about this all the time. We're focused on one thing and one thing solely, is that's service and value for our members. And it's really important to us that you feel like you've got a great service from this co-op, but that you also see value in the co-op today. And obviously we'll be talking about that quite a bit as relates to cost. Next slide, please. And so at your cooperative, we've got a slide here that sort of talks about your cooperative. We have over 71,000 member owners, and we serve almost or a little over 99,000 meter locations across the service territory that we have. about 3,500 square miles with over 11,000 miles of electric line. We have 7 office locations currently, 208 employees currently. We're the 6th largest electric cooperative in Texas. And there's about 900 electric co-ops across the United States, and we're in the top basically 40 as far as size goes. There's quite a few large ones in Texas. We're the 6th largest in Texas. Our asset base, so when you put all of our poles, wires, and trucks and transformers and all that in a bucket, our assets are worth about $700 million. So we're not a small company. We're a pretty large company as that goes, and that's your company. The members own this company, and again, we're pretty large from that way. The next thing I'd like to talk about on this slide is equity. So I mentioned to you a bit ago, as a nonprofit electric cooperative, your board makes a decision from time to time to retire capital credits or member dividends back to you, and that's basically based on the financial performance of the co-op. And we've done this for a long time. Last year was the first time we didn't. And the reason we didn't is because of the Brazos bankruptcy that was that took place and that's still going on today. And ultimately, not knowing the results of how that's going to turn out, our board just didn't feel comfortable retiring that member equity last year, and they did make the same decision this year. Our hope is the bankruptcy will actually wrap up in the next several months, and I'm going to talk about that in later slides so we can get over this hump and have certainty as to how the bankruptcy is going to affect us locally here at United. And so your board, again, has made the same decision to not retire capital credits this year, but our hope is that we'll be able to get back to it next year once we have the certainty from the bankruptcy. So I'll talk about the status of the Brazos bankruptcy and how it affects you as members a little bit later. Next slide, please. So I've got a number of topics that we're going to cover today. And those topics, and I think I've already seen the questions come in, and the key question really has to do with power cost and understanding why the power cost has gone up so much. And it has. I'm a member too. I've got the largest bill last month I've ever gotten being a member of United Cooperative Services, and I know many of you are seeing the same thing right now, so we're going to spend some time explaining that to you. The next thing, managing your energy use. I mean, we're a business that we thrive on trying to help you use less of a product that we sell, and then we're going to talk about that a little bit. The Brazos Electric Cooperative bankruptcy, I want to give you an update. There have been a lot of things happening on that lately, and so I want you to sort of know where that stands. We're going to talk about the Member Appreciation Day that's upcoming and the annual meeting this year. And then the rest of the questions that I'm getting already is, we want an update about internet, and so that's where we're going to end our discussion today. So next slide, please. So a really key component of our cost, and it's really important that we start here, is for you to understand how the cost comes to you. So every dollar that you pay United Cooperative Services for your electric bill, about 70 to 80% of that dollar is just a direct pass-through from Brazos Electric Cooperative. Now, Brazos Electric Cooperative is another electric cooperative that we co-own as United. Us and 15 other distribution co-ops own Brazos Electric Cooperative. We formed Brazos Electric Cooperative many years ago in order to serve our generation and transmission and substation needs, and they've done that for a long time for us. Obviously, as I mentioned, and many of you know because you read what we put out, is that Brazos Electric filed bankruptcy after Winter Storm Uri because of the extreme billing from ERCOT that Brazos received. And so Brazos is in bankruptcy, but even so, they're in reorganization bankruptcy, which means they're still operating as they always have. And so because of that, we continue by contract, have to buy all of our power and generation and transmission and substation services from Brazos Electric. The bankruptcy did not change that. So ultimately, whatever Brazos bills us for those services, we simply pass that on to our members. We don't put any markup on it. And so Brazos is a not-for-profit electric co-op just like we are, so their goal of business is not making profit. It's to make enough money to stay in business and keep the business running. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, the most of your energy dollar that you send to United each month actually is just a pass-through to Brazos Electric Cooperative. And that number, I have it that shows from 70 to 80%. Right now it's running about 77% of your bill. So the remaining 23% is actually what it takes to run United Cooperative Services. I had a letter from a member the other day that said you need to do all these steps on the distribution side to reduce costs so you can reduce our bill. We could take some steps, and we actually are one of the most efficient in the country as far as cost goes, and we've already done that. But if we stopped buying vehicles and we stopped doing X, Y, and Z on the distribution side, all it would do was affect the ability to service you at the level that you want to be serviced, and it wouldn't really save you much money. And so ultimately, all the costs that you're seeing right now is coming from Brazos Electric Cooperative that we're passing through to you, again, at no markup. Next slide, please. So the next question you should be asking is, okay, so if that's the case, then why is it so expensive right now? And so on this slide, I've got 3 reasons, and these are the 3 primary things that are happening in the Texas market and internationally that are affecting the cost of power. The first is increased fuel costs. So natural gas is the driving fuel for the generation fleet in Texas, including Brazos Electric. So what that means is when natural gas goes up in price, ultimately the price of producing and obviously giving you that power goes up. And it has significantly gone up. The war in Ukraine has not helped that at all. It's actually been a stressor to the situation significantly, and so it's a global commodity, natural gas is, and when you rely on it so much for generation, when it goes up, it affects the cost of generation dramatically, and that's the real key driver, and I'll show you a chart here in a little bit that shows you the increase and what that looks like just over the last several years. The next reason is because of Winter Storm Uri and the challenges that ERCOT grid saw during that time, there's been some structural changes as to how ERCOT deals with generators and calls on generators to run. Because of that, it's increased the cost of several different, market structures, if you will, that get passed on to us from ERCOT through Brazos. Now, this summer already, we've had some really hot days, and we've been very close to rotating outages. A couple times we've not had it happen, which is great. ERCOT will say it's because of the things that they've put into place since Winter Storm Uri as to why we didn't have rotating outages in those really hot days in mid-July this year. Regardless of whether that's the truth or not, what I can tell you is for sure there is a market increase in cost because of it. The last piece is because of Winter Storm Uri, all the market participants that sell energy in the ERCOT market are much more risk averse now, meaning they want to cover their risk of another Winter Storm Uri type event, and so costs are higher right now. So all the purchases that are made in the market to supply what Brazos sends us, those are done at a higher cost as well. So those 3 components together are really what's driving our cost, which is passed on to you. Again, it's not on the distribution side, it's on the Brazos Electric side. Next slide, please. So this is a chart that shows exactly what's happening with the natural gas price. And for those of you that aren't looking at the chart, I'll explain it to you. It's been running for the past 7 years at a number real close to $3 per MMBTU. Now, this isn't gas that goes in your car. This is the natural gas. If you have a natural gas in your home, that's the same natural gas that's used in generating electricity. But you'll see just in the last 6 months, there's been a very significant run-up to $8 more of an average. And actually, today, the futures crossed the $9 mark for the first time in a long time. So that's not really good news to tell you right now, because we were hopeful that $8 ceiling was going to hold, and now that $9 ceiling just got broken today in the futures market. So that market is pretty volatile right now, and we're doing what we can to manage that. But unfortunately, the cost of natural gas is the cost of natural gas, and it's definitely a stressor on price right now for everybody. It's not just United Co-op; it's everybody in the ERCOT market and actually everybody in the country. And so it's a really important piece to understand. Now, PCRF, I want to bring that term up to you right now because of how our rate structure works. Our rate structure is a fixed rate for Brazos, and so we have what's called a power cost recovery factor, PCRF, that we flow through any of these price increases that we get from Brazos that aren't what was expected. And so from the standpoint of we expect a certain amount from Brazos, that's how the rate was designed. If it comes in significantly more than that, then the PCRF has to increase to cover the difference. And that's where, if you look at your bill right now and look at the detail, if you look at your bill 6 months ago, compare that PCRF to now, you'll see a very significant difference. And that's where all of this cost from Brazos that we're getting is actually being put as into the PCRF. And so folks have been asking the question, what in the world is that? And we've never had that before. No, you've always had that. It's always worked the same way. It's just you're noticing it now because it's such a big number compared to the past. So I wanted you to be aware of that. Next slide, please. So this slide is basically the slide that we put in your Texas Co-op Power each month. It's the rate watch. And if you don't read your Texas Co-op Power each month, you need to start. There's a lot that's going on at your co-op specifically related to cost and to the bankruptcy and quite a few other things that if you're not reading your co-op power, you're missing out on a lot of information that we provide you. But we do provide this cost graph in every issue, and we have for a long, long time, and we don't plan to change it anytime soon, to show you exactly where our rate stands up to everything else, to everybody else that's in the market. And so you'll see on this chart, our rate right now, based on 2,000 kilowatt hours usage, is 15.9 cents. And that's pretty high. It's actually historically high. I wrote about that in the last issue of the Co-op Power that you received a few weeks ago. That's not something I'm proud of. Again, all that's coming from Brazos, the majority of it. So it's 72-77%, depending on how much you use, of our cost, and that's that 15.9 cents. Now, the other thing to look at, and we always show you what the Encore REP average is, and one of the comments, especially as cost goes up, that I always get, and I've seen several comments already posted, that we should just opt in. Well, had we been opted in this scenario, in other words, we basically don't take our power from Brazos, but we take it from the market, then we would look very similar to the Encore REPs. And so all those same REPs would compete in our area. And you will see right now, if you sign a new contract with an REP on Encore right now, that average is 19.1 cents. And so you might say, well, one of my neighbors is on Encore and their rate is 10 cents right now. Well, they haven't. They're under a contract that started before the price run up, because the price run up's only happened in the last 6 to 9 months. When their contract runs out, this is what they're going to see, is 19 cents. And so for those that signed the contract right before the price run up, you got lucky. For those that are signing up right now, they're seeing these 19 and 20 cent offers right now. And right now the co-op is 15.9. So you should be thankful that we haven't opted in, and you should be thankful that you're on the co-op. Even though it's a high cost, you could be a lot higher if you were in the REP opt-in market right now. And so the good news is we're significantly lower than that. The bad news is, though, we're still very high, and I understand that. Also on that chart, you'll see our United Community Solar rate at 2 kW and 4 kW. If you're on the 4 kW United Solar rate, you're just under 10 cents right now. Unfortunately, we don't have any more spots of that. We've sold out of all those slots. I'll talk about that a little bit later today. If you go to the next slide, please. If you look at this slide, this is actually a detail of the REP average on the Encore system, and this is what actually was created, that one bar, and so this is actually the detail behind it, and so you can see where our rate lands compared to all the different REPs that are offering on Encore. The first thing I'll note is this is a much smaller group of REPs than what we've seen in the past. After Winter Storm Uri, a number of them actually defaulted and went away, so the number of plans went down quite a bit. But this is sort of what's left. They've come back. A few of them have come back since, but ultimately it's a lot less options than existed prior to. But you'll see we're way far on the left, which means we're the cheapest options in the market right now. So the good news is, again, you've got a really good rate with United. The bad news is it's our highest rate historically. And so it's definitely got everybody's attention, and we understand that. Next slide, please. So the next slide is what this looked like a year ago. And so a year ago, and this was obviously after Winter Storm Uri, we really hadn't figured out, as far as the state, the rule changes that were going in place, and then the natural gas hadn't really changed at that point in time. So it was still 230, 250, 270 in those ranges from day to day. And so you'll see at that time we were 9.1 cents, and the Encore REP average was 9.84 cents. So we were a lot tighter with the Encore REP average of the opt-in market, but we were still lower, about 10%. And those of you that were on the 4 kW solar rate were paying just under 7 cents, which is almost a steal for electricity. But the point here is, a year ago we had a much different scenario, and costs have more than doubled in much of the market. And that's the world that we live in today. And what I can tell you as far as going forward and what that looks like, I think that based on what we're seeing right now, the 15.9 is probably going to be pretty standard through the end of the year. Our hope is through the bankruptcy process, which I'll talk about a little bit later, that we're trying to figure out ways to address that in different opportunities as a result of the bankruptcy. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. But you should expect the 15.9 to last through the end of the year for our rates. And so hopefully it doesn't have to go up any more than that. That's our hope is that. But if gas were to go, I mentioned a bit ago that gas has gone and crossed the $9 mark. We didn't expect that to happen, and it just happened. If it gets up to 10, 11, 12, those costs will obviously be passed to us, and we may have to go up even more. Hopefully that's not the case, but again, just wanted to explain that to you. Next slide, please. And to make matters worse, you take the probably the highest price we've paid for energy in history, and then you combine it with one of the warmest summers that we've had in history. That's not a good combination. And so we had 27 of 31 days in July were 100 degrees or higher. This summer we've had over 40 days of 100-degree temperatures. So far, they're saying, depending on what happens the rest of this month, this could be the warmest summer on record for our area. Right now, it was the second hottest July on record for DFW. What this means is your HVAC, which is your key user in your home, it doesn't stop running. And if it stops for about 10, 15 minutes, and then it starts right back up again. And so we have a number of members that will say, well, I go to work during the day. I don't understand why my cost is so high. I'm not even at the house. Well, unless you take your thermostat with you to work, that thermostat continues to cycle that HVAC all day long, which is what you get to pay for. And folks, that's where your money is. It's in how cool you keep your home. Now, I'm not advocating you turn it to 86 or anything like that, but I'm just trying to highlight the point that whatever you set your thermostat on is going to drive your cost during the summer months. It just is what it is. And so we've got the data to show that. If you want to see that, you can call in and we can go over that data with you to actually show. At my home, I use about 110, 120 kilowatt hours a month during this time because my wife won't let me make it 82 degrees in the house. I've tried, but she keeps changing it every time I walk away. So that doesn't work very well at my house. I'm not sure if y'all have the same problem as I do. Next slide, please. So what can you do? So I told you usage is at extreme historic highs. I've told you the rates are at historic highs because of what's happening in the ERCOT market and natural gas. So what can you do? Well, we're one of the few companies, I think, that work really hard with our members, if you want it, to try to reduce what you use, the product that we sell. And we've got lots of different tools to assist you. The first one is an energy audit. If you have not had an energy audit at your home, you should. We have experts that can come in and look at your home and help you understand where you're using your energy. But the bottom line is your HVAC is probably your key culprit right now. But we can actually come in and talk to you about insulation and different things like that might be able to help you out. Being educated is an important piece. We have a lot of information that we put in Co-op Power and on our website about how to use less energy. I mentioned a bit ago about usage evaluation. We've got information about how you use your energy, and we can work with you and share with you information there to help you understand exactly what's going on in your home. We have rebates. One of the most used rebates is the HVAC tune-up. If you haven't done that, I'd encourage you to do it. I haven't done it this summer. I need to as well. I haven't done it. I should have, but it basically ensures that your system is running top notch, and we basically pay for it. There's grants to help you out depending on what you're doing, what upgrades you're making to your house. We have the community solar. We've got a wait list right now of about 700 members wanting to be on the system. Unfortunately, we're not able to expand right now any more than what we had because of the Brazos bankruptcy, but we're hoping to resolve that, like I said, in the next several months. I'll talk more about that shortly. We have a demand response program. We actually have a Beat the Peak program. If you watch our Facebook page or if you've signed up for that, you'll get text messages, and your thermostat can be controlled for short periods of time. I'm actually on that program. Some member at one point, I bet the CEO's not on that program. No, I actually am. And my air conditioning does get controlled on the hottest days of the year, but I do get a credit on my bill for it, just like you could if you wanted to do the same thing. Policy 4110 is on this slide. I'll explain that to you. On our energy audit, sometimes we find an air conditioning system where the heating coils are locked in as well, so the members actually got the heating coils on and the air conditioner on at the same time. We find that from time to time, and in those kind of situations, we actually assist the member a little bit with their bill during that month. DG evaluation, so there is a slew of solar companies out there right now trying to get you to switch to solar. And right now at 16 cents, it probably makes some sense for you to do that. So we help you do that. Now what I'll tell you is I don't think we're going to be at 16 cents forever. I think it's going to come back down to 10, 11, 12 cents again, which is where we were, let's say, November and December of this last year. And so I think we're going to be back there again, and it does make the economics a lot harder for solar to work at those kind of prices. So, but if we stay at 16 cents forever, which we shouldn't be, it makes some sense. But if you want to do it, we can help you do that. We have experts that can help you size it correctly and make sure the contracts you sign are appropriate. There's a lot of people trying to take advantage of people right now on solar, and so be very careful about that, but we're totally supportive, and if you actually send more back to us, we bank that and send you a check at the end of the year, so we're fully supportive. Last thing I'll bring up is our billing options. One of the common options that we suggest to folks that have a hard time with the volatility of the highs and the lows is budget billing. So if you're normally pay your bill every month on time and take care of that like you should, and you want to switch from actual billing to budget billing, we can do that with you, and which basically just gives you the same bill every month. So you get the highs and the lows sort of go away, and it becomes more of an average bill that we send you every month. And so that's another option that can help our members as well. Next slide, please. I understand we have a good amount of demographics on our members, and we understand we have a good amount of folks that are challenged to pay bills like you're seeing right now, and we understand that completely and appreciate that. We do, through our Operation Roundup, which most of our members participate in, we fund a number of community organizations that help members when times like this come up. On the slide right now, we've got a number of those listed. Texas Neighborhood Services is the key one, but Operation Blessing, the Mansfield Mission Center, Hope, Mission Granbury, Harvest House, just to name a few that we fund. And those folks are working with our members right now and helping pay for electric bills or portions of electric bills. And if you fall in that category where you may qualify, I would highly encourage you to reach out to one of those organizations to help you right now, because the money is there. I know, because we're sending them the money. And so I know it's there, I know it's available, and I sure hope that you participate in that if you need the help. Next slide, please. I'm going to shift gears a little bit on you and talk about the Brazos bankruptcy. And just as a reminder again, the Brazos bankruptcy, we own Brazos. There's United and 15 other co-ops own Brazos. So when Brazos filed bankruptcy, we were obviously very aware that it was going to happen, because it was a board vote at the Brazos level to do that. And we've been very involved from the standpoint of our own experts, et cetera, to make sure that we're protected. But why did all that happen? So Storm Uri. So those of you that may be newer members that weren't here during February 2021, we had a really nasty winter storm that was named Uri that caused cascading electric issues all across Texas. Hundreds of billions of dollars of economic impact. to the state of Texas and Texans. So it was a really, really big deal. And companies are gone now because of it. So it was a really big issue. Energy prices on the wholesale side reached $9 per kilowatt hour. I'm talking about 15 cents a kilowatt hour as our rate right now. $9 a kilowatt hour was the wholesale rate for 4 days. And so that racked up a lot of bills for a lot of folks and caused a lot of financial turmoil. Next slide, please. Brazos was one of those that had very large bills that racked up, and rather than pay them and put that stress on all of the distribution co-ops, including United, Brazos made the decision to file reorganization bankruptcy, so Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, had we billed what Brazos estimated that bill to be to each of our members, we would have billed an average of $1.80 per kilowatt hour. So a rough average of a residential user for that month of February last year was about 4,000 to 5,000 kilowatt hours. So that would have resulted to our members in between $8,000 and $10,000 bills for that 1 month. And that was pretty consistent across the different Brazos members. We knew that if we sent that to you, you wouldn't pay that. You wouldn't be able to pay that. And Brazos understood that, and we understood that, and so we selected a different option, and that's what we did. And really, we didn't really know what the full impacts of all this was going to be, but what we knew is we must do everything we can to protect our members as much as we can. And so that's what we did. That's why the Brazos bankruptcy was filed, and we have been working now 18 months on this bankruptcy and trying to do the right thing to help you the most that we can. Next slide, please. So I can share some information with you. An exit plan has not been filed, but it has to be filed by September 1st, which is just a few weeks away, and it will be. But Brazos actually filed a motion for exclusivity extension on July 25th. I'm not going to get technical with you, but it included what we've been working on as a mediated settlement. So all the different parties that have basically a part to play in this all have participated in mediation with several different bankruptcy judges and experts, and at the end of the day we all sort of have agreed on certain terms and conditions for Brazos to exit bankruptcy. And so I want to talk about a few of those things. These are the items that have been made public through that filing. And the first will be Brazos is no longer going to be in the power generation business. They're going to exit that business altogether, and they're going to sell all of their generation assets that they own. Brazos is going to operate as the Brazos 2.0, or the new company, as a transmission and distribution cooperative, so they'll continue to operate the transmission system and the substations that we rely on them today. United would take responsibility for procuring power for the membership beginning March 1st, 2023. And so I'll let you know that we're actively working on that right now, trying to get all of our ducks in a row, if you will, to make sure that when March 1st, 2023 comes along, that we've got a plan in place and power from whatever process that we're going to provide it to you, ultimately that we're going to do it in a way where it's hopefully more cost effective than what Brazos has been doing here lately. Brazos would bill United a reduced amount to settle all financial claims with Brazos and thus ERCOT. And so this is important to you because through all of the negotiations and everything that we've been working on, we've been able to work out about a 20% discount, which I'd like it to be more than that. But the reality is everybody wants to get paid something. But the good news is we've actually been able to reduce the bill significantly. And so that's a good thing and a benefit to the members. The next thing, basically the Texas legislature during and right after Winter Storm Uri saw what was going to happen to many of the electric co-ops in the state, and they authored a bill called Senate Bill 1580, which gives electric cooperatives the legal right to securitize funds to pay for Winter Storm Uri expenses. And so that was passed, and we will be taking advantage of that. And the reason we will be, it's still a really large amount of money that we have to pay to Brazos and thus to ERCOT and other parties, and we're going to spread that cost out over 28 years, basically take out a mortgage, if you will, specifically for those costs. That way we don't have to bill you big dollars, and we can spread it out over a long period of time. And so that's our plan right now, and it's going to amount to about $0.01 per kilowatt hour. And just to be clear, we will put that in the PCRF. Our hope is, as we get to the end of this year, when we're expecting that to close, we're expecting hopefully our power prices to go down significantly, and at the same time, while there's a little addition there, it's going to be a net negative for you, which would be lower than the 15.9 you see today. The last thing, and we fought really hard for this in the mediation, is it will also establish a hardship fund for qualifying members to help offset cost of securitization. So that penny that goes onto your bill, if you're low income or below the median income from the state of Texas, it'll be a process for you to sign up that actually cover part or all of the securitization charges. And so we're working on that as well. So that's something that we fought for because we understand a number of our members are in that income bracket, and then we felt like that was the right thing to do. And so hopefully that answers all your questions as far as the Brazos bankruptcy, but please keep reading your Texas Co-op Power. We'll give you the actual details once the plan is filed. And once the plan is filed, we'll know a lot more about the timeline as to when all this is going to wrap up. But our hope is by December, we'll have everything wrapped up, including the securitization, and we can be exiting out of this bankruptcy state with Brazos, hopefully at the first of the year, and getting somebody to buy our power from to pass to you that will be more effective, cost-effective than Brazos has been recently. Now, a point on that, we had a number of membership meetings over the past 6-9 months, and one of the things we talked about is options when it comes to what our members want us to do from a power supply standpoint, if in fact we were going to be responsible for it. Well, ultimately we are going to be responsible for it if everything goes like it's going right now. And so we've got about 3 or 4 different options we're reviewing right now. There was a 5th. We did talk to our members about opting in, but we got a very solid no from the members that we talked to about doing that. So we've taken that as an option off the table. And if you remember the slide I showed you a bit ago, you probably don't want to be paying 19 or 20 cents a kilowatt hour right now. You probably would prefer to pay 15. And I think that's what our members have recognized. So we've basically taken that as an option off the table. So we are talking to another organization or two similar to the makeup of Brazos. We're talking to wholesalers in the market. We're talking to other cooperatives about working with them. And so we're looking at different options right now, and we're going to pick the option that we believe is the best interest of our members and that will control the cost long term as much as we can. And so that gives you an update as to where we are there. Once we make decisions on that, we will let our members know. Next slide, please. And we're getting close to the end, so everybody knows. Membership Appreciation Day is coming up soon, so October 14th. So just like we did last year at all of our offices, we're going to host a lunch from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you come during that time, you'll get lunch. Plus, you'll get entered in for a chance to win a door prize. And this is sort of in exchange of the normal annual meeting process that we used to do at a single site. The reason we chose to do this again this year is because when we were starting our planning for the annual meeting for this current year, the high school in Glen Rose still couldn't tell us how they were going to handle the COVID situation, and so they couldn't give us any certainty. So we decided to do it virtually again this year. But we're going to have some polling questions for you here shortly as to whether you're going to attend the Appreciation Day, and then we'll talk about the annual meeting. So, Dirk, why don't we go to the next slide, and you can do this first polling question for us.
Yes, sir. Happy to get that done. As I mentioned from the onset of the call, this is an interactive forum. And part of the interactivity is your ability to key in your answers to the poll questions we're going to ask. We're going to start out with one that does relate to Member Appreciation Day. I'll go through all of the different areas twice. So all of the answers will be read twice, so you can go ahead and submit using your telephone keypad, which one is pertinent to you. So our question is, will you attend the Member Appreciation Day, and at which office? Please press 1 if you will not be attending at any office. Please press 2 if you'll be attending at Burleson. Press 3 if you'd attend at Cleburne. Press 4 at Joshua. Press 5 if it would be at Meridian. Press 6 for Stephenville. Press 7 for Possum Kingdom Lake, and press 8 for Granbury. Again, we're looking for you to key in your response now. Will you attend the Member Appreciation Day, and at which office? Press 1 if you will not be attending. Press 2 if you'll attend at Burleson, 3 at Cleburne, 4 at Joshua, 5 at Meridian, 6 at Stephenville, 7 at Possum Kingdom Lake, and 8 at Granbury. Wow, I see a lot of people registering their votes. Thank you very much for utilizing the system here and letting us know what you're thinking about. Also, as I mentioned, we'll be taking live questions in just a few moments. So if you have a question you would like to ask, please press star 3 on your telephone keypad to enter the live question queue. Again, star 3 to ask a question, or if you're listening in online, you can go ahead and type your name and question right below the streaming player. And Cameron, I'm going to throw it right back to you, sir, so that you can talk internet next, I believe.
Well, we're almost there, Dirk. We're going to talk about the annual meeting next, which is the next slide. Jen, if you want to put that up. Our virtual annual meeting, I mentioned a bit ago that we're not going to have it in person in Glen Rose. We're having the Membership Appreciation Day, and then that same day at 4 p.m., we're going to have an event much like what you're participating in right now, where I'll cover probably some similar information plus a few different items at the virtual annual meeting on October 14th at 4 p.m., and we'll put that out on Facebook and let our members know that that's occurring. But with that said, our expectation is that members would probably prefer to have that in person again, but we don't know that. And so we have a polling question for you as this board of directors makes a decision as to how the annual meeting looks for you going forward. Dirk, if you could handle that next polling question, please.
Yes, sir. Sorry to jump the gun on you there, but we're going ahead right now, and we're updating the system to have this next poll question ready for people to submit, and here we go with it. Again, using your telephone keypad, choose the best answer on the keypad there that relates to how you're feeling. So the question is, would you prefer we hold a centrally located in-person annual meeting at Glen Rose High School, or explore moving it around the service territory, or should we keep Member Appreciation Day with a virtual annual meeting? Please press 1 if you prefer the central location of Glen Rose High School. Press 2 if you feel the meeting should be moved around the service territory. And please press 3 to keep the Member Appreciation Day with a virtual annual meeting. So again, would you prefer we hold a centrally located in-person annual meeting at Glen Rose High School, or explore moving it around the territory, or keep Member Appreciation Day with virtual annual meeting? Press 1 for the meeting at the Glen Rose High School. Press 2 for a meeting should be moved around the service territory. Press 3 if you feel we should keep the Member Appreciation Day with a virtual annual meeting. So I see a number of folks are registering their vote. Thank you very much for that. And now I'll put it back to you, Mr. Cameron.
Dirk, thank you so much. I appreciate the information and the feedback from our members on that. It looks like many of you like the Member Appreciation Day approach, so I'll bring that information to your board of directors and then let them know of your response there. So I'll get to the last topic, and that's the internet. If you'll go to that slide, please. Jen, there's not a lot of detail on this slide, but talks a little bit about the high-speed internet project that we're working on. Obviously, our members voted on this a couple of years ago now, and the vote was over 90% positive for us to go through this project, and so we're doing it. And we've installed almost 4,000 miles of fiber on our poles and in the ground, most of it on our poles. We're serving over 13,000 members now with high-speed internet over fiber. It's a really great thing. I have it at my house finally, and love it. We outperform AT&T, run circles around them at my house. I love the fact that we can do that. But I know a number of you are probably grumbling right now because you don't have that fiber yet, like I do. I wasn't the first, by the way. It took about a year and a half for me to get it where I live, but I know that a number of our members still are waiting for it today, and I understand the frustration that you're dealing with, because I had that same frustration a year ago myself. I will say that we've had really good feedback about it. We've made some changes as we've gone along to improve the reliability, et cetera, and we've got a really, really good, solid product out there right now. We get a lot of questions about when is it my turn. We have a map on our website that sort of shows the areas that we're working on. We don't get in super great detail way ahead. The reason we don't is because this is a competitive business, and we don't want to let our competitors know what we're doing a year from now. It's not a good thing to do that, and so we're pretty careful about how far out we go in advance and announce what we're doing. From that standpoint, I wanted you to be aware of that, but know this: we're working really hard to try to get fiber as far and deep as our territory as we can. We have recently submitted a grant application to replace some of our designed wireless infrastructure with fiber to the home in more of the rural areas. We're waiting on information back from RUS right now as to whether or not that we actually received that or not. We should know in the next few weeks, but ultimately, we're trying to do everything we can to put as little wireless in the air as possible and more fiber on our poles and in the ground as possible to serve our members. We do have some wireless operable outside of Stephenville right now. We probably will be turning up some more wireless in different parts of our rural territory because we can get you 50 to 100 megabits of very reliable internet, which will work for a lot of folks. But we understand that some will need a little higher speed than that. We have about 2.5 years left of the original timeline that we told you to complete the system. And so what we're trying to figure out right now is how to manage that timeline and still work through these grant proposals and try to convert more of that wireless design to fiber as we go forward. So I wanted you to be aware of what we've been working on there. Bottom line is we've got areas turned up in most parts of our territory minus PK Lake. We're working on that actively right now. We had to do some facility upgrades to our office there in order to make this work. And so for those of you that live up in that area, you've probably seen that and noticed us working over at the office. And so that's what's going on there. So anyway, that's an update on the internet. I'll be ready to take your questions right now, but thank you for taking time to listening to us today.
All right. Looks like our first question comes from Steve, who joins us live on the line right now. Steve, welcome to the call. Go ahead with your question, please.
Okay, hang on. Let me get off of the squawk box. Okay, my question on the internet, I'm way down at the bottom of the map, and I was just curious how long it's going to take to get down there. We're quite rural, and our only other option for internet is Dish.
Yeah, and so if you say you're way down on the map, I assume that's in southern Bosque County or southern Erath County?
We're actually in Hamilton County.
Okay, so yeah, we're
way
west,
down at the bottom.
West and south.
Yeah.
So you're on the very end. Yeah, it's it's going to be probably another year or two before we get your area, and so unfortunately that just sort of is what it is. But we do have plans to get to you. We just aren't there yet.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much for that question, Steve. And a quick reminder to everybody, if you've got a question you'd like to ask, all you need to do is press *3 on your telephone keypad, and you'll be taken to the live question queue, and we hope to get to your question. You can also submit your name and question right below the streaming player, and our next question came in that way from the web, and Javier wonders, why is PCRF so unpredictable?
Javier, it's a really good question. I'm glad you asked it. It's unpredictable because natural gas prices and power prices are unpredictable in the ERCOT market. The volatility in natural gas in the ERCOT market right now is the worst I've ever seen it in my career, and I've been doing this almost 30 years. It's amazing the volatility and the change from day to day as to what's happening in the market right now. So with the PCRF, what we try to do at United is we try to smooth that for our members. And so we may get a bill from Brazos one month that's $27 million for power cost, and then the next month we get a bill for $14 million of power cost. We don't hit you all, the members, with that big change immediately. We smooth it over time. and our bankers and auditors let us do that. But right now, we actually have an owing balance of almost $15 million in that account because we have been smoothing some of this volatility. And so while you've gotten that 15.9 cents, you haven't seen the crazy swings that had we just billed you the difference every month, you would have seen even more crazy swings. And so we try to make it more simple and more understandable as far as what the power cost is doing. But ultimately, it has to do with the market, the natural gas market, and how the ERCOT market is pricing power. So that's a really good question.
So Javier also wonders, when and how will we begin to start receiving member dividends again?
Another good question, Javier. So what I explained to you a bit ago is because of the Brazos bankruptcy and the potential outcomes of that, our board didn't feel appropriate in retiring member dividends last year, and they made the same decision this year. And so we normally would send those checks out in September, this next month. So normally would be in the next 3 weeks, we would be sending checks out. We are not doing that this year, but our hope is the Brazos bankruptcy will go as we expect it to, as it exits, and we won't lose our equity at Brazos. And as a result, we'll be able to restore the capital credit member dividend retirement in 23. That's our hope, and that's our plan right now. And assuming we don't get any surprises from the Brazos bankruptcy exit, we'll be able to do that.
All right, going back to the phones now, we're joined by Carol, who's got a question. Welcome to the call, Carol. Go ahead with your question, please.
I was wondering, you mentioned that you have a Cleburne office and a Burleson office and a Joshua office. Well, I didn't know about a Joshua office that you were talking about, and I don't know where it is. And if they're going to have the greeting in October where they can come in and meet everybody and have lunch, then where would you go in Joshua?
Well, that's a great question. So if you know where the old Wells Fargo building was in Joshua, that's the building that we purchased about 1.5 years ago. And so it's right there in the center of town.
I know. I've been here since '78 and used to bank at that bank, so I'm well aware of where it is.
Yeah, we bought that a couple of years ago because we intended to do a project to rebuild our Cleburne office location. So we bought that to move our employees there temporarily, and then because of the bankruptcy, we've slowed that Cleburne project down, so we've ended up having to use the Joshua office for our internet employees mainly. But we do take electric payments there, have a drive-through there to support our members there in Joshua.
Well, thank you. I just appreciate y'all, and I've been with y'all for 44 years, and I think y'all are wonderful.
Carol, thank you so much for your question.
All right, next up, we've got a question coming from Greg. Greg, welcome to the call. Go ahead with your question, please.
Hi. I was interested in the energy audit that you mentioned. What is the process in doing that, and is there any cost involved on our end to do it?
Greg, that's a good question. No, there is no cost, and it's as simple as calling into any office and scheduling it. And so we just got to get it on a schedule. Obviously, we have a lot of requests for that right now, so we might be a week or two out to get it done. But it's basically just scheduling it with us, and we'll have our expert come out.
All right. Sounds good. This is actually my second town hall meeting to listen to, and I do find it very informative to help us understand the cost involved on our end. And so I did have our HVAC system checked for cooling and heating this spring with Air Masters out of Cleburne, and the technician afterwards actually gave me one of the rebate forms for United, and so that cost for us that was going to be $219 total cut it $100 off. So I do appreciate that from United, and I plan on doing this annually to just keep up with our system on our end to make sure it's working as efficient as possible.
Greg, thanks for those comments. I'd highly recommend doing that. Thank you.
All right, next we've got John joining us. John, welcome to the call. You're live. What is your question?
I'm assuming that's me.
Yes, sir. You are live on the call. Go ahead with your question.
Okay. All right. I just had a question, and I mean, obviously, I don't speak for a whole lot of people. This is my first time doing a town hall meeting. But I just had a question regarding the actual member appreciations. I think that's a great thing. I think that's an awesome thing. I've never been involved with a company that's actually done that. So I applaud y'all for doing that, and it's much appreciated. The only thing is that I kind of wondered, would it be more responsible to say, like, hey, we're sorry for not being able to, but maybe cut out feeding the members and certain things to kind of cut costs, to maybe chip away at the things that are going to come as far as down the line on our bill?
You know, John, that's a really good question. A letter I just got from a member recently, and I think I halfway addressed this a bit ago, suggested similar things to what you just brought up. You know, a hallmark of the cooperative business model really is our connection to our members. And so member appreciation days are really, really important to us to connect with our members and listen to them. One of the things that I so much enjoy about having those meetings is the fact that, you know, we can have candid conversations with folks and explain things and get comments and hear how our employees have handled issues and such. And so, you know, the annual meeting and the membership appreciation days, those things are really needed in order to just emphasize who we are and our connection to our members. I hear what you're saying is, well, could you at least cut the cost? So what I brought up earlier, almost 80% of the cost that's being passed through to you right now in this 15.9 cent rate is actually power costs. It's not actually, it's Brazos, and we don't put any markup on that. We just send that directly to you. And so it's the 20% that is the United cost. And when you look at how much goes into that bucket, you know, feeding, you know, a couple hundred members isn't a drop in the bucket in that. It's pretty minuscule. So our view is it's an important day to celebrate our members, but ultimately it's a members co-op. If all of you show up and say, I don't want this meal in the future, then we'll listen to you and we won't do it. But I have a feeling you're going to have a fight on your hands if you do that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Cameron, I apologize. I've been so connected to this call, I hadn't looked up at the clock, but I just noticed that we're approaching the 1 hour mark, and I know that we want to be aware of everyone's time that they're giving for this call. So I kind of believe we should go ahead and wrap this up with the caveat that people can leave a voicemail at the end of this call if we didn't get to your question, or if you have a question, or that the office line of 817-556-4000 is a telephone number you can call and ask a question. All right. So, Cameron, could I get you to go ahead and begin to wrap this call up, sir?
I will. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. It's a really important piece to our mission of communicating with our members, and it's been very interactive, and I appreciate that. Thank you for your comments on the annual meeting and on the member appreciation days. We'll use that polling to sort of plan appropriately, so I appreciate that. On Facebook, many of you have put out there this. Once we put the notice, you shared it, and you got participation up, and I appreciate that, because the one thing that's really important right now is us communicating with our members and letting you know what's going on and being transparent about it. And ultimately, this event and you working with us gets that accomplished. So I just want to appreciate our members and what you do in supporting us and supporting the employee group. And know this. We completely understand and appreciate the challenges of this higher power cost right now. We get it. And all of our employees feel your pain. Many of our employees are also members and are paying that same power bill and same cost that you are. But remember, ultimately, while we're 15.9, you could be in the REP market and getting a new contract right now and being close to 20 cents. So we're still providing you value, even though it doesn't feel like it. but we rest on the fact that we provide better service than anybody, and then we're going to continue to do that and supporting you and your co-op as you go forward. So, again, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking time to be with us today, and we'll hang up the call now. Thank you, Dirk, and everyone, and Jen and everyone. Thank you. Bye.